Hi, I'm Bob Hockmuth, Extension Agent here at the North Florida Research and Education Center in Live Oak. And I'm standing here in front of our Stonefruit orchard at the center, and it is a part of our demonstration orchard that has as many as a dozen different fruit crops. But today we're going to talk specifically about stone fruits. And with me today is Dr. Pete Anderson, and Pete Anderson is a fruit crop specialist over at Quincy, but also helps us here in managing this demonstration orchard at Live Oak. Pete, maybe start us off a little bit. What exactly is a stone fruit?
A stone fruit is a fruit that has a pit in the center of the fruit itself, and that's contrasted with a pome fruit, which has many seeds in the center section of the fruit. Examples of the stone fruit would be peaches, nectarines, and plums, and apricots. And examples of a pome fruit would be apples or pears, and they have many separate seeds in the center of the fruit.
Okay, so that inside of that peach with that hard stone-like seed is where the name stone fruit comes from.
That's correct.
Here in the orchard, we've got three of those crops: peaches, nectarines, and plums, and several different varieties of them. And the industry of stone fruit here in Florida over the years has kind of shifted very dramatically over the years. What has been the history of the stone fruit industry here in Florida?
Well, I think it would probably be the late 1970s. We had a peak in the acreage in North Florida mainly, and it was about 3,000 acres. Since that time, we've had a lot of untimely spring frosts, and we also suffered from competition from California. But to make a long story short, now we only have a few hundred acres in the state. There could be a trend toward small acreages, U-pick operations, things such as that. And there's a little bit more interest in the extreme low chill varieties that we have for central and south central Florida.
Okay. I know at our field days here that the fruit crop tour is a very popular one. It seems to increase in popularity every year, indicating that a lot of these small farmers throughout the state are looking for something, an alternative crop that could be grown. And so I have noticed a resurgence of interest in these fruit crops, especially the stone fruit group. I know the University of Florida has a rich history of a stone fruit breeding program. Can you tell us a little bit about the history of that breeding program and where the focus has been?
The University of Florida initiated a peach breeding program about 50 years ago in an attempt to develop peaches and nectarines and plums that will flower and fruit normally under Florida's warm conditions. Specifically, during the winter, there's just not enough chill for the traditional cultivars such as Alberta and Red Haven to flower and fruit normally. So what the breeding program has accomplished over the last 50 years is to develop about 40 or so different cultivars that respond well to the short winter conditions in Florida.
And I know here in North Florida, the winters seem to be a little longer, perhaps when you get down to Central and South Florida. So the varieties that may be appropriate here in North Florida may not be the same varieties that would be down in South Florida. I see a lot of interest in these new varieties fitting into our programs here. I also know that there's some different aspects of some of the varieties that the term I think is non-melting types of varieties. Tell us a little bit about the non-melting aspect.
A non-melting flesh peach or nectarine is a fruit that has the consistency of apricot, for example, where when you bite into it, the texture is very firm. That could be contrasted with the traditional peaches and nectarines that most people are familiar with, are real juicy to the texture. And the reason why we're going with the non-melting type flesh peaches and nectarines is because they can be picked at physiological maturity, and we can produce a better fruit for the marketplace and it's better for the consumer as well because it's picked at physiological maturity.
So they're sweeter, and I know the varieties out here that we have that are of the non-melting flesh type are excellent. They're very, very sweet and just seem like they would be a lot easier to handle and not as perishable as some of the traditional peach varieties. What are some of the non-melting flesh varieties that are available to a grower?
Well, there's 4 new peaches, all beginning with the prefix Gulf, G-U-L-F, that ripen between May 1st and about June 15th. This is a market window that the Florida growers and the South Georgia growers consider their market window. Those cultivars, the first one to ripen would be Gulf King, about May 1st. It's a 2 1/4, 2.5 inch peach with good color, good flavor. The next to ripen would be Gulf Crest, which is not quite as promising as Gulf King because it ripens a little bit later. Next to ripen would be Gulf Crimson, which is an excellent peach for its season, and the growers would finish out the season by planting Gulf Prince, which ripens the first week in June. After that point in time, there's so much competition in the peach and nectarine business that it's no longer profitable for the growers in northern Florida to grow peaches that ripen after that date. Plus, the environment in Florida is very humid, and there's a lot of rainfall after the beginning of June, and it makes disease control a lot more difficult.
So the whole story on these stone fruits is they're not easy to grow. They're a challenging crop to grow. There's a lot of specific cultural practices and pest management aspects that we really need to follow, and I'd like for you to show us a little bit of some of the details of the cultural management. This time of year we've gone through the dormant season, we've done a little bit of pruning, and I'd like you to kind of show us some of the main tips that a grower would need to look for this time of year.
Okay.